Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Welcome to Hong Kong Confidential. I'm Jules Hannaford and I'm your host. I'm an Australian woman and I've been living in Hong Kong for many years. I'm a mother, a teacher, an author, and I want to share my wisdom and the wisdom of others with you. Thanks for joining me and I hope you enjoy the show. Today I'm here with Karen C from Embrace. Hi Karen, how are you?
Hello Jules, thanks for having me.
No worries, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in. Karen, what do you do at Embrace?
I'm the co-founder of essentially what is a leadership and coaching consultancy. And it all started with me being sort of a regional leader or a woman in a company and realising with my co-founder, wouldn't it be amazing to support women in leadership? So we started Embrace about 2.5 years ago and it's been pretty amazing.
It looks amazing. And
Thank you.
Embrace is an anagram. What does it stand for?
Embrace stands for, when we started thinking about life and about how we want to provide balance in life, as I think you've been experiencing recently, Jules, and finding a balance between work, what you need to do and grow. So Embrace is an acronym. The first E is emotions. How do you show up? How do your emotions have impact on others? And how do you manage your emotions? The M is meaning, finding your meaning and purpose. Because when you find your meaning and purpose, you thrive, you flourish.
Absolutely.
B is for belief, believing in yourself, self-confidence. And what we realise is that it's not confidence in that obnoxious way, it's feeling that confidence within yourself. R is risk-taking, stepping up, leaning in, becoming a leader. A is aptitude and personal growth. What do you need to do in your life to help you continue to learn and grow? C is collaboration and community, because we all need to feel connected, we all need to collaborate, and in this world now, collaboration is so important. And the last E is energy, because when you live within the pillars of Embrace or the other 6 pillars, you need to sleep. You need to reinvigorate yourself and have that time for yourself as well. So Embrace is really what we call our leadership philosophy, because when you live within this realm, you'll be happy, confident, and successful.
That is, what a brilliant philosophy, what a great underpinning for your company. Like, it really resonates so well with me as a woman. And I can see that all of those tags would really come together to create a great woman and a great leader.
Correct.
And why do you think it's important for women to be great leaders?
I actually think it's important for everyone to be great leaders. And then I always say, she's a great leader, she just happens to be a woman.
Excellent.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think leadership comes down to, a lot of the times, is about managing your own emotions and knowing who you are and having that self-awareness. So once you have that within yourself, then you can pass it on to your family, and then you can pass it on to society, and then all of society would be a great place, because we are then in a world of great leaders.
It's interesting that you mention emotions, because I think that from my reading, that's one of the reasons why people feel that women perhaps don't make such good leaders, because we seem to be more emotional. But do you agree with that, or do you think that there's a place for emotions in leadership and in the workplace?
There's definitely a place for emotions, and I think if corporations not recognising that, then they're not going to be the corporation for the future. Emotions underpin everything that we do. And the way you refer to it is negative emotions. But what about the positive emotions that come out of that?
Exactly. Yeah.
And the love, respect, compassion, a sense of trust, all of those things are positive emotions that are productive in the workforce, or productive in the way I would communicate with you, that I connect with my children, my in-laws. They're all productive emotions.
Do you work primarily just with women?
No. Well, I think we started in that space because, of course, that's where I was most comfortable. But we recognise that for leadership, it's gender neutral. Everyone can be supported to support them to be better leaders in life, better leaders in their work.
Right. And why do you think it's important for people to be confident and happy and successful?
I think I've been learning this a lot because one of my mentors is a Bhutanese monk.
Oh, how cool.
It's awesome. And he comes from a place that everyone in life wants to be happy. And you sit there and think, oh, that's really worthy. And then you think about it and it's like, that's true. Why can't we all be happy? Why can't we all believe in ourselves? What's wrong with that? And then, of course, once you have all of that, why can't we be successful?
Yeah. It's not unattainable. I think
unattainable.
It's interesting as a parent, as my daughter was growing up, I was thinking, oh, I hope she does this and I hope she does that. But now that she's an adult, I just hope that she's happy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's really all I want for her, is that she's happy.
Yeah, and I think in a city like Hong Kong, which is, many, many masters of the universes or alpha males and females, we lose sight of the fact of what really makes us happy. And if we can find happiness from within, which is what we essentially at Embrace we specialise in, then we're at a good starting point.
What's your secret to finding happiness from within?
Wow.
How do you guide people to find happiness?
It comes from when you look at the principles of, say, positive psychology or neuroscience and all of those, which I'm still learning about, it comes from being in a place of gratefulness and thankfulness. And when you are thankful and when you look around you, the whole world looks different. So when you are thankless and you're thinking about how bad the world is or how you're not being treated the right way, well, actually, if you looked at it the other way, the history and exactly what you've been doing could be exactly the same, but your outlook can be so different. And that's happiness from within.
Yeah, that's absolutely so true, isn't it? And I think if you have that ability to show gratitude, then you have that ability to feel joy because you're grateful for what you've got, and you're not always striving for this, because there's so much of our culture that wants more and we're never satisfied and striving rather than reflecting and being grateful for where we are and what we've got.
Because the big question is, what is more?
Yeah, and will more make you happy? It may not.
Or why can't it be? There's the word that we use a lot is prosperity. And prosperity, of course, in Chinese terms, is wanting more and more wealth. But what if we talked about prosperous as having enough? And then when you do have enough and being grateful for having enough, then the rest is to share your happiness, share your joy, share compassion and kindness. And that goes back to being a great leader again. If you're kind and compassionate and willing to support people to do better than what they have, than they can do on their own, with the whole question of why would someone follow you or be the leader you would follow?
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So instead of wanting to shine at the expense of everyone else, you lift everyone up with you.
Yes, I'm nodding, but I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, there's no video.
That's what I've learned from Khenpo, who is the Bhutanese monk, is you're lifting, it's not about competition, it's about excellence and lifting everyone up at the same time.
Tell me more about your Bhutanese monk. How did you find him and what role does he play in your life?
When I first started Embrace, I was invited to teach at an institute in Bhutan who happens to be under the government and the civil service, the King of Bhutan's civil servants.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And at that time, I call it a serendipitous moment, is that I was staying in the same hotel as Khenpo. Khenpo is the honorific name that you would give a monk at this level. And I was walking down the stairs and he literally wiped me out with his saffron robes. And he turned to me and we started chatting and I told him where I was teaching and he went, so am I. Because he's actually not just a monk, but he's the head of, or one of the directors at the Royal University of Bhutan. So he's not just a monk in a monastery, but he's also a teacher. And I went, really? What are you teaching? And he told me universal human values and happiness.
Uh-huh.
So then I sat in his classes after teaching my own, and he galvanized the thinking that I had around Embrace about the 7 pillars and how all of us are really striving to be happy, confident, and successful. And that happiness comes first and not success. So you can't get success and be happy. You need happiness from within first, and then, of course, everything will just flow and come. And having met him, I needed more. And I asked him to come to Hong Kong, and this was May 2017, because I knew that I couldn't bring all of Hong Kong to retire.
You wanted to take everybody you knew to meet him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I brought him over to Hong Kong, and he did a number of workshops and seminars around the whole notion of universal human values. And with the underpinning of that is being trust and love. And now at Embrace, we're working on a new company, essentially a new brand called the Harmony Academy. Kempo has now given us permission to use his work, use his thinking in a way that now I can share this with the wider community on finding happiness within yourself.
Great. So you talk about trust and harmony.
Mm-hmm.
When Kempo talked about the universal human values, what were the 9 values that he talked about?
Well, Kempo refers to universal human values is the values that are innate in us before religion, before preconditioning, before the layers on top that then, of course, creates unconscious bias. When you step back, there's 9 different values: trust, respect, affection, care, guidance, reverence, honor, gratitude, and underlying all of that is love.
Oh, that's lovely. He works on building all of those aspects within a person.
He works on it from a place, and this is when I was in Bhutan, from the person first, understanding that all of us want all of these 9 attributes. We all want love, we all want trust, we all want to be honoured and revered and have respect. But then how does that translate into how we work with the family? And then how do you take those 9 values and how does that work within society? So it's again that ripple effect, finding your self-awareness first, and then the impact that it has, and then, society, and then the rest of the world, or the universe, or however you want to put it. I mean, I look at it that way and think about what's happening with us at the moment and the fact that we can't trust our world leaders to tell us what we should do now. Because actually what we really should be doing is be leaders within ourselves.
Oh, that's nice.
And then our responsibility with our children, with our family, the impact we have on the world, and the fact that we're all connected.
It all has a knock-on effect.
It all has a knock-on effect. So my learning with Kempo was even the grass that grows, the trees that give us air to breathe, and everything is in harmony and works together.
The universe.
The universe. I
There
know
you
this is sounding a little bit wordy.
Oh, that's great.
But I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And if we can, people that we work with and embrace, and on the Harmony Academy, if we get people more connected in that way, could you imagine what the world would look like?
Well,
how happy everyone
I know,
would be.
there wouldn't be any wars and evilness.
Oh, yeah, but that's having more women in leadership as well.
I know, that's so
more
important.
women in leadership.
I know.
No more wars.
Yeah, it's true.
Robin Williams said would have disagreements every 28 days.
Until menopause, and then you would agree all the time.
No more
That's
wars.
brilliant. So you run a mentorship program. What does that involve?
Well, the mentorship program that we do of Embrace is mostly for corporates. Actually, we're doing it at universities and corporates. And there's coaching, which is what we do, and that's a professional coach supporting someone to move them through what they help them see perspectives and get direction. There's mentoring, which you would do in an organizational level, which is more about one person showing them the ropes or giving them advice along the way of how perhaps they've started their career and moved on. And then there's sponsors, which is really finding the right person within the organization that will be your cheerleader. So what we try and do in Embrace is we provide the coaching, we provide structured mentorship programs. So there's a little bit of coaching, there's definitely connecting you with the right people within your organization. Then on top of that, there's personal development programs. Because sometimes with mentoring, and I know when I've been mentored in the past, it's sort of like, well, catch up with that person, catch up with Jules, and you do that over lunch, and then over a year you'll get to know what you need to do. And it's a bit loosey-goosey.
Yeah,
and things.
So yours is more structured. It doesn't have to be somebody just entering into the corporate world. It could be somebody at any level.
Yeah, it can be. And I think the most interesting part to this is reverse mentoring.
Oh, what's that?
So when you have the mentor essentially becoming the mentee, or what I like saying, because I've learned a lot from mentoring people, is because I've come from a different generation, is what can I learn from my mentee or the person that I'm trying to give advice to? Because
we can always learn from everyone, can't we?
And so it's always showing up to give, but also showing up to receive.
Oh, that's really cool. You do corporate coaching. Do you do personal coaching as well?
Yeah, I do personal coaching as well.
Oh, fantastic. And any other forms of coaching?
It's mostly because I come from a very corporate executive space. A lot of my coaching comes from those needing that support, leadership presence, how are you showing up as a leader, even getting down to voice, how you use your voice, listening, how well silence works.
And they're all skills, aren't
Yeah,
they? Yeah.
stature. And we do workshops around leadership presence. And then we do workshops on the 7 pillars of embrace. So starting from emotional intelligence, finding your meaning and purpose and values. What are your values? What helps you to thrive? And then when you understand that, how do you live your life? And once you know that.
It sounds so fascinating. How amazing. And do you work much with entrepreneurs and with people from startups? Because there's a whole new world of employment coming, isn't there, with artificial intelligence and the way that jobs are changing. And are you moving with all of that?
Yeah, the big challenge, I think, for everyone is understanding the new world with artificial intelligence. So I was speaking to a professor a couple of months ago, and he went, robots can teach, but they can't inspire.
Oh, thank goodness.
But it's true. And then what does that mean in the leadership space? Well, you need to be more creative. You need to be more innovative. You need to demonstrate that emotional intelligence again because, yes, robots will replace us in a particular way. So what value can we bring? It's like what Jack Ma said the other day at the World Economic Forum. What value can children take now that can't be replaced by robots? And that has to be creativity.
Yes, and also relationships, doesn't
and relationships.
it? Yeah,
correct.
I mean, that's really what I believe makes a good teacher is the relationships you form with your students.
Yeah, that's very important.
I think that's what we've got to really hold on to. And the creativity is a big one, isn't it? And I think that there's a lot more of a recognition that the creative pathways are a good way to go because that can take people much further than people believed 20 years ago.
Yeah.
If you were heading in the creative direction, you were just seen as a bit of a hippie.
Yeah.
But nowadays there's real value in creativity, isn't there?
I think it doesn't necessarily have to be creativity as in what we would normally think of film or television art or the dramatic arts. It's creativity in the way you do take on your own job. Or finding new ways to do things. And don't we call it like divergent thinking and all of that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And really, to be competitive, you have to be able to think like that, don't you? Because somebody else is going to come in and think like that if you don't.
Well, but then if we're going back to this whole happiness place, it's how do you grow together and rather than compete?
Yes, and teamwork as well.
And teamwork, collaboration.
Yes.
And the big thing, I think, now, particularly as we move forward, is the collaboration piece and how to influence, because in this global world, you could be working in teams all over the world, but how do you show up to be able to lead that team when you don't have that title? This goes back to leadership again. Leadership doesn't have a title, it's just a way of being. So how can children lead? I've done workshops with high school students about leadership, prefects going into the community and their role as leaders, MBA students, undergrads at universities.
Wow, that's awesome. That'd be really great. We'll have to talk more after this podcast. Karen, what sort of scientifically proven principles of human behaviour and emotional intelligence and neuroscience do you kind of work with?
We work with a lot of people that have inspired me along the way. So when we talk about positive psychology, I look a lot to Dr. Martin Seligman's work. And he is, I believe, the father of positive psychology, and that comes out of University of Pennsylvania. The emotional intelligence goes back to, I suppose, who sort of brought it to the fore was Daniel Goleman, and he's quite prevalent in the whole area of emotional intelligence and 4 to 6 segments of the different. So when we talk about EI, it's self-awareness, it's self-regulation, it's showing empathy, it's relationships, all the different aspects of how we relate to people and how we work with people and how we connect with people.
And do you think showing empathy is something that comes naturally, or do you think, or to anyone? No, in general, do you think it comes naturally, or do you think it's something people can learn? Or do you think it's just innate?
No, you can learn it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely. I'm learning every day.
How would you teach someone to learn to show empathy if they're not very empathic?
It comes back, I'm going to say this a lot, is self-awareness. Understanding where that person's coming from and then adapting your own self to be able to ensure that when we speak about collaboration or teamwork, that you get to that win-win. So when you think about empathy, it's like the book To Kill a Mockingbird. When you step in, Atticus would talk about stepping in the other person's shoes, and it's not until you walk around in their shoes that you really understand what they're dealing with. That's empathy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's really great.
We come from the same generation.
Yeah, we do. Oh, I love that book too.
Yeah.
Can you share any success stories of somebody who's worked with you and seen a massive change in the way that they operate or their general levels of happiness? Is there anything that sort of jumps out at you that you could share with us?
I've had a number of clients, and one that's been a fantastic supporter that she's now thinking about wanting to take Embrace to the UK, which is wonderful. But a lot of the people that I support, I mean, when you coach generally, you find that by the time someone comes to you, they're already on the cusp of change.
Yes,
So,
because they want it.
Because
yeah,
they want
exactly.
to. I mean,
so that's why they're signing up for coaching.
Exactly. I don't coach people that don't want to be coached because there's no point.
Yeah.
And so the role of a coach is actually quite not as hard as people think, or they really think that I've done this amazing job because all of a sudden they're brighter, they're speaking with conviction, they have all this self-confidence. I'm like, no, it was just there. I just helped you unravel it a little bit more so you could see it yourself.
Do you use the GROW method?
Sometimes.
So by GROW, it's goal,
Reality.
what your goal, reality, options, and when will you do it? Yeah.
And it goes different ways. I'm very much a coach that works with where the client needs to go. And we may set a goal, or when they appoint me, they may have a specific goal of wanting a promotion, needing to be happy, needing to step out of their comfort zone to their courage zone. Those sorts of things will be an overarching, except for, say, going for a promotion. There's many of the reasons why someone would come in to be an overarching perspective, and then looking to see what else.
I think it's interesting that a lot of people, when they go into coaching, often come out with a completely different result than what they're going in for. Yeah. So you can go in thinking you're going to go and deal with one thing or set that particular goal, but you end up flinging around all over the place and coming out with completely different outcomes and different results, which is really quite exciting.
No, I think that's a great way to put it. And it's, you can be sitting with a client and she will come in or he will come in with a particular issue that he has that day, and life gets in the way of coaching. So sometimes you have a plan and then you step in and then it flings, like you said, all over the place. But there's still insights. And the coach is really, it's not my agenda. I can't, and I'm not a good coach if I start to tell you what I think you should do or go this way or whatever. It's really, what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
And it's drawing it out, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what's the difference between counselling and coaching?
For me, I know counselling is very much seeing where you are now and looking back at your life and to understand why you're behaving in your way now. And coaching is then looking at where you are now and where you want to go. So it's sort of like driving in a car. And you look in your rearview mirror, so that's what you do with counselling. And in the car, you're looking ahead, and the coach may go, have you looked at where you go? If you go right, where are you going? Where are you going here? And if you go left, where are you going here? So the coach is really just to help you a little bit with your directions, because the end goal is yours. It's not the coach's one.
What sort of people typically come to you for coaching?
I think because of my background, women still resonate with me more than men. And this is where I flourish with the client as well. Mostly I'm in management, and they've been successful. I think there's sometimes the women are scared to call themselves ambitious because they think it's a dirty word.
Why is that, do you think, women can't feel
my God,
that they
we
can
need
be
another
ambitious?
podcast.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a whole other story.
That's culture, that's society. Yeah, that's a whole other story.
It is. It's really social norms, isn't it? And the way that we're conditioned.
And it's the way women and girls have been brought up.
Mm.
We're brought up differently. And men are brought up differently as well, and you have issues there. But very much, you cannot be assertive. You're bossy, you're not assertive. You're all of those.
Yeah, you're bitchy, you're not strong. Yeah, things like that.
So ambition is only meant to be for men, because if you're ambitious as a woman, then you're a bitch.
Yeah, you're a bitch. Yeah, cutthroat. So you've been really involved in the Me Too movement in Hong Kong. Can you tell me about your role in this movement?
It sort of came by accident. The hashtag Me Too Now What sessions that we've been running through Hong Kong was initially started as a discussion with myself and Hong Kong University, or with Embrace at HKU. Because HKU, Helen Lockie, has developed a sexual harassment program for her students, and we were introduced, and I was looking at a way of taking HKU's work and putting it out to corporates. Chat, as women do. And then the Weinstein scandal hit and the Me Too hashtag came out. And I went back to Helen and went, this is our time. How do we use hashtag Me Too as an opportunity to create awareness for sexual harassment and education? As part of that group was Camel Assembly, which is a women's initiative group, as well as Meta, which is where an entrepreneurial space that has provided a great platform for us to start to build this agenda in Hong Kong.
Are you trying to build awareness of sexual harassment in the workplace alongside HKU, which are looking at sexual harassment on campus?
Yes, I think initially it was more about what do you have, what do you know, how do we collaborate to get what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, and then take that to become a community service. I think it was actually December of last year we had our first Me Too event, which is only for women. We did say we were going to have men, but we wanted it for women to be a safe place. And we had a psychologist, Pascal, Karina, who was our trauma counsellor, and 2 victims in a panel speaking very candidly about sexual harassment and the definitions. We had 40 women turn up.
Wow, 40 came. That's great for the first one.
Yeah, and then we had about 6 groups, and they were run by the psychologist and the trauma counsellor, Karina and Pascal, and professional coaches as well. So the aim then was really just to provide a place outside of social media to sit and go, I think I've had a Me Too moment as well, share the stories, safe place, no judgment, but to make you realise that you're not alone in this. And then where I met you, the second session, which was only last month or so, was 60 people came. And that was really reinforcing the definitions of sexual harassment, and then also how to manage that in a way that is compassionate, is kind, is direct communication, using hashtag MeToo actually in an ironic way to actually stop sexual harassment.
Do you think that that's working? Do you think these conversations about sexual harassment are raising awareness and people are being more careful about the way that they interact with others in the workplace or on campus?
Yes.
Is there any evidence of this, or is it more just anecdotal?
Anecdotal. I think you can't go through a restaurant at the moment and not hear someone referring to the Me Too. Is that true?
I agree, yeah.
And perhaps because I'm right in the middle of it, nearly every conversation I'm having over a dinner party or whatever, it comes up. And it comes up from 2 ways. One is, yes, we're super aware of what's happening, this is fantastic. Or it comes up with, what the hell are you doing? Because this is ruining relationships. How can we relate to each other now?
It's so interesting that you say that, because I was just looking on Twitter before you came, and I found this article by the Daily Mail, which is not a reputable paper at all. But there's a whole lot of stuff here saying that the Me Too campaign is stupid, it won't stop sexual harassment, that it's really providing a platform for people to complain when really they're just being called pretty or somebody's touched them inadvertently. So it's really sort of saying that people are attention seeking and that it's causing, it was a legitimate place for people to really talk about sexual harassment and how they were being treated, and that it's swung the other direction. And now that there's people who have really taken advantage of this and are just seeking attention for issues which don't really qualify as Me Too experiences. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I'd really love to discuss this. What qualifies as sexual harassment?
Oh, it's one of my questions. Tell me. I want to know. What does qualify? But then that's cultural, isn't it? Is it cultural? What is it? This is the thing. What does qualify as sexual harassment? Is it up to the individual? Is there a guideline? What do you think?
I think it has to come down to the individual.
It's very interesting, that Aziz Ansari issue, where he went on a date, the girl went home, they started to get sexually involved with each other.
She gave him a blowjob.
Yeah, she said that she was giving him non-verbal cues, which
Yes.
he obviously didn't pick up on. Then when she finally said, I don't want to, he said, let's sit on the couch and watch TV. And then he called her a cab and, they didn't have sex. But yet she's putting that out there as a Me Too story, and it's caused a lot of controversy because there are many people claiming that that's just a date that didn't go well.
Yeah, I read that article. And
what did you think? I'd love to know your opinion.
I didn't know who to feel for in the end.
His career could be ruined.
His career could be ruined, but I think because of the conversations, I think he's, as you've used him as an example of, has this gone too far? And I think, I've not read the recent articles, but I think he's actually come out, I presume he would have come out okay, and I'm sure she would have been trolled.
Well, she's anonymous.
Yeah. So, both. I mean, you look at the other way. Catherine Deneuve has come out in France saying that Me Too is ridiculous.
Yes, because in the French are very open with their sexuality and all of that. It's interesting.
And Uma Thurman's has just come out in the New York Times this week. The op-ed piece was interesting because, as I said, I didn't know not who to believe, because I believe both of them.
Yeah, well, their stories weren't different. They agreed, but it's just a different perspective, isn't it? And really is about perspective. And I guess it does come down to how offended or how traumatized you really are. But I think something else I was thinking about with this Me Too campaign, it's really about power, isn't it? And if someone's got ultimate power and then the person feels uncomfortable being able to speak their mind or to get out of the situation because they feel less powerful, then that perhaps makes it more of a Me Too moment than when you're in an equal situation, somebody tries something and you say, look, I'm not interested, see you later, and you get out of it. Do you agree with that, or is that just a...
There's definitely a power play, and there's also the uncomfortable feeling. I mean, uncomfortable is actually quite a good word, because if and when you're feeling uncomfortable, then that's enough for you to feel like your body's been objectified or you're feeling not quite right. And that's where you need to trust your instincts. How many people have met their husband and wives on a date at work? So there is so much grey. And I think it comes down to creating awareness enough to understand when that uncomfortable feeling arises, for the perpetrator to understand that perhaps their behaviour makes people uncomfortable. And some perpetrators don't even realise that what they're doing is uncomfortable.
No, especially if it's habitual or, repeated behaviour that they've been successful with,
If Me Too just becomes an opportunity for everyone to treat everyone with respect, then it's working.
Yeah, and that's really would be the ultimate outcome, wouldn't it? And I think also people can't really sit back and judge others. No. Because you don't know somebody's true experience or how they were feeling.
Yeah, and my uncomfortableness could be very different from your uncomfortableness, but the perpetrator needs to understand that they need to be aware. The other side to that is this awareness could go too far. And when we speak about wanting gender parity, when we speak about wanting to have equal in the boardroom, equal in all aspects of life, what role will Me Too play in that? And what's happening with the Daily Mail? There's this alienation coming about. So will men mentor women? Will men have you or a woman invite you to a bar to discuss your career now? Women, we talk about men and women, but we need to be inclusive. But in the networks that men hang around with, on the golf course, in a bar, all of that, women have always struggled with that networking anyway. Now it happens.
Yeah, now they may be even more ostracised because it's too dangerous, too much of a risk.
Yeah, that brings up the Mike Pence stuff.
I know, it does.
Like, I can't have dinner with a woman except for my wife. Well, there's concerns there too. We can dig and dig and dig.
Are you surprised at how big this campaign When Alyssa Milano started the Me Too hashtag on Twitter, there was something like 40 million responses within, just a few hours or days. I was reading it in the article, which means it may not be correct because it is a Daily Mail. But are you surprised at how many women? It's almost like everybody's got a Me Too story of some description.
The statistics are mind-blowing because it may not be 100% for women. We thought it was 50%, but we think it's 90%.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. And also, of course, women do sexually harass men, and there is the whole LGBT IQ community. So, it happens everywhere. It's not just happening to heterosexual women. But statistics do show that the perpetrators typically are male.
Correct. And the statistics also say that if the victim is male, they're more likely to report it.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
There's skewed data now because we're only counting those that reported it. So how many people haven't reported it? And the stories that we're having over the dinner conversations is not so much I reported it. It's, oh, yeah, it happened to me too and I didn't know what to do with it. Oh, I didn't realise. My personal story is, thankfully, I've never been assaulted, but my sexual harassment comes in the way of I normalised this behaviour. I allowed men to speak to me in this way. I allowed men to... And I used it as well because I had to endure the sexual conversations at a bar at 3 a.m. in the morning, but at the same time that meeting at 3 a.m. in the morning gave me the information I needed to continue to succeed in my career.
Right.
And I never went, I feel uncomfortable hearing you say that. I was thinking, I'm really glad I've been the woman invited rather than the feminist that was sitting in the hotel room not being invited. So for me, #MeToo has become a bit of redemption. How can I support others in a way that I've been part of this, I've been working 25 years, so I've been part of what's become normal, and now it shouldn't be normal.
Sure, and things are going to perhaps change. What do you think the landscape is of the Me Too movement here in Hong Kong? And what does sexual harassment look like in Hong Kong, say, compared to the US, where clearly it's quite prevalent?
It's prevalent in Hong Kong. I've literally just started. The Me Too events that we've had at the moment are English-speaking events. The next one will be for Cantonese-speaking, for the majority of Hong Kong. And already I've been starting to connect with people and hearing the numbers. And they're staggering.
Really? That's interesting. Why do you think it's important that people report sexual harassment?
Because it's wrong.
And it's a way to get it to stop?
Yeah, I don't know whether
and to hold people accountable?
To hold people accountable. I also don't think that it may not need to get to the reporting space if you can call out that you feel uncomfortable.
I think I perhaps should use the word address.
Yeah.
Why do you think people should address sexual harassment?
Because it's not respectful, that perhaps it's being used in a power play, that you feel uncomfortable. And that is in the workplace and when you're out having a drink and all of that. We should respect people's space.
If you're working with someone who says, look, I'm experiencing this sexual harassment, what advice would you give them to combat sexual harassment or to deal with it?
Well, actually, it was one of my clients that after the Weinstein scandal came out, I was coaching her and she went, she raised in one of the workshops, can we bring up this scandal because I'd like to know if I'm experiencing it.
Oh, right. So she needed to get it qualified.
And then we had a couple of coaching sessions on it and then I went, what would you like to do now? So she ended up going to HR. She ended up being on our panel at the Me Too session to describe how she was feeling. And it was actually verbal harassment. There's so many different types of harassment. So this was when you do that, when you meet with him, put on some lipstick just random things that you wouldn't say to a man that you're saying to a woman.
That was sexualising her, right?
Sexualising her to get the deal. And again, she felt uncomfortable with it, and that's enough. So what do you do with that?
And was she able to address it with the people that were doing it and put a stop to it, or did she?
Yeah, she did. She also was able to gather support because she realised it wasn't just her.
There were others in the same company.
Yeah. And part of hashtag Me Too was exactly that. You're not alone. This happened to me too.
And it does give people comfort. And I think something that I realised from the conversations that we had at the last Me Too forum was that I think it shocks a lot of people initially when it happens, and they don't really have the time to digest it and work out necessarily what's going on. And it's only after the fact sometimes that you reflect and think, hang on a minute, that wasn't acceptable. And then it's too late to respond or react sometimes. Do you agree that that happens quite a bit?
Oh yeah, it happened. If I think of Me Too, I went back to my last 25 years of working and went, oh, that was.
I think this sort of campaign and these sort of conversations gives women the tools to recognise quickly what's going on and then find their voice to say, actually, please stop, I'm not comfortable with that and that's not acceptable. And it's just giving those real strategies that really is so helpful, because some people just flounder, they get nervous, they're not sure what's acceptable. Yeah. And so I think that's really good, isn't it?
And I think hashtag Me Too becomes an excuse a little bit, or you can use that in a way that goes, I felt a little bit uncomfortable with this. Are you aware that this type of behaviour is being picked up a lot at the moment?
And is that a good thing?
Well, I think you can use it as a way of saying to a person, a perpetrator, to even sort of go, well, and I've done it, I don't feel uncomfortable with this.
Yeah, but you better be careful. There's a lot going on. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit more about the Me Too backlash that we're seeing? Like, what's your opinion on it, and where do you think the campaign's going to go? Do you think it's going to be detrimental for women speaking up about sexual harassment, or for people speaking up about sexual harassment?
I think you have to have people speak up for it first, get knocked down, and then for it to come to a place where it settles in and becomes cultural as well. You're going to have a lot of lone voices that come out, the brave ones, the courageous ones, and then you'll get the other voices to come with you. So the Nassar case, nearly 200 women have come out to speak about the Olympic gymnast doctor.
Yes.
One woman, then there was 10 women, then there was 20 women, and I heard the number today was 256 or something like that.
And it's incredible, isn't it?
It's incredible.
That's prolific sexual harassment of girls. They weren't even women.
And it's not even,
they were
harassment,
girls.
it's assault. And then we have to go into who was complicit and how far up the chain does it go. And I've heard that the entire gymnastic committee has to resign because of this. Someone said their mother was in the room, all this sort of stuff.
Do you think that's a result of this Me Too campaign, people coming forward?
First victim came out in November last. Oh, maybe not, because they're already in the place where it's being sentenced. But it provided...
a platform for a lot more,
And Times Magazine cover this year was the hashtag Me Too, people with no faces, right? Or faces and then a woman there with no face. We've been talking about the English-speaking community and Western community, but there's also the foreign domestic worker community that we want to address. Karina, who's of Indian ethnicity, is how do we pick up on the ethnic minority groups? So we're doing one for the Indian community in Hong Kong. If only to raise awareness that this is not right or you're feeling uncomfortable, then that's a first step.
Yeah.
As I said before, a lot of people don't really realise that it is sexual harassment. And if that gives people thoughtful pause, then we're doing a good thing.
And that was going to be one of my questions, how does someone know if they're being sexually harassed? But I think we touched on that already, didn't we? And it's really about whether you feel that it's uncomfortable and it doesn't sit well with you. And then that's a sign that it shouldn't be happening. What are some of the ways of coping with the emotional effects of sexual harassment, do you think?
I think that you should go see a counsellor or reach out to an NGO that I recently came across called Rain Lily in Hong Kong. And they help people with sexual violence. They're social workers, so they'll be able to point you in the right direction to seek support before you get to tribunal level or reporting levels and things like that. And then you can also go to the police, but I've heard there's judgment there as well, particularly for the local community. But there are some NGOs there that you can, and if your listeners want to reach out to us separately or something, I can provide the right details, but Raina Lily is the one that I've heard of recently.
Okay, cool. And we'll give your details at the end of this podcast. What's your advice on people reporting?
The first thing is going back to acknowledging, I think, first, before you go down this. And that's because I come from a place of compassion and kindness and understanding. And maybe everyone may not agree with me, but this is the place that I come from. So if it's that, oh my God, have you been living under a rock? This Me Too thing is happening. Do not do this anymore, right?
And that's really good advice. I hadn't thought of that, but that's a really good way to approach it, isn't it? Draw attention to the whole thing that's going on rather than making it necessarily just about you and this person's behaviour.
Yeah.
That can make it easier to express what you're feeling,
Correct.
can't it?
Yeah. And I go to that place because that's where I feel most comfortable. If then you're feeling like he or she is using the power and it is in the workplace, then I think you do need to go to HR, and I think HR have to learn to be more prepared for this. Or even before that, speak to someone that you believe comes from an educated place that can give you some perspective.
If somebody from HR in a company is listening to this podcast, what advice do you give to them about upskilling all of their leaders about dealing with this issue? What can they do?
They need to get onto it quickly. I think, I'm building workshops now because of the success of the community service workshops. What started with when we started this in December, and I'd mention it to some corporates and they're like, no, we're not touching this. No.
Yeah, sweep it under the carpet.
So now, even just last week, I had 3 corporations come to me going, okay, now we're ready to talk.
Oh, that's great.
How do we do this in a way that's educational? And I know that we can't use the same format that we used in the community service scenario because in a workplace you may have your perpetrators and your victims in the same room. So
Absolutely.
We can't do the group coaching where I'm like, whoa, what happened there?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true.
Because the guy's over there.
Yeah.
The woman's over there.
So you have to rethink how you do it.
Yes.
But also, do you think some corporations are worried about addressing the issue because they don't want to open the proverbial can of worms?
They have to be. If they're worried, then they should be.
It's better to address it and try to change the culture rather than let it fester and continue.
Yeah. Well, you turn that the other way, and there's been some poor victims that are allowing it to fester inside them, and
it can ruin lives and bring
lives.
on mental health issues and all sorts of things. What advice would you give to someone who's experiencing sexual harassment in the workplace or privately?
The first one would be direct communication, as I said. If it's possible, direct it. Open up the conversation yourself. If you don't feel comfortable with that, and that's where it is, if you feel uncomfortable, that's enough to say, I'm uncomfortable. You're not alone in this, so make sure that you can speak to someone about it to get perspective. And then find the right channel to report, and that may be HR. And then that also may be a counsellor, an NGO, social worker.
Okay,
that can help
awesome. You're also working in TEDx. Tell me about what you're doing there.
Well, I was originally one of the curators of TEDx Tin Hau Women. There's the first TEDx Women event in Hong Kong. And that was collaborating with a number of phenomenal women in that committee. And then Embrace is actually sponsoring the next TEDx, which is a salon, and there's only 100 people rather than 500. It's a smaller event to keep the momentum up. And that topic at the moment is around power, permission, and progress.
Oh, cool. That sounds so interesting. I want to come along.
Oh, well, of course, I'll invite you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Permission is, of course, Rebecca Hopkins, who I believe you've interviewed before.
Yes, so she's amazing.
She's amazing. And her piece around, giving permission for people to... we talked about that, about body awareness.
Yes. Yeah.
The power bit is, at the moment, currently being discussed, but looking at potentially having an NGO speak about giving power back to people that have been trafficked.
Oh, great.
Power back to their lives.
I did a great interview with Matt Friedman from the Mekong Club.
Oh.
Yeah, episode 14.
Okay. There you go. What a segue.
Yeah.
I've been told I need to Matt. I have heard
he's
Matt's
amazing.
name around
so much.
You
must listen to episode 14.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Episode 14,
yeah.
1-4.
Yeah, it's called Stop Human Trafficking.
Oh, well, there you go.
And then your last one?
Progress.
Progress? What are you doing
So
now?
we were looking for an anthropologist because the big question is, why are women in this position? Why are we, who make amazing things in our body, people, humans, live in a world of patriarchy? Constantly suppressed, goes back to the Salem witch hunts and all of that.
Yeah.
So we've been speaking to anthropologists, historians of gender equality.
Oh, how cool.
And that will be the third piece. And then from that, then we'll have a panel so the audience then can ask questions about these themes.
Oh, how fantastic.
So that's March 24th. Did you get that?
Ah, March 24th. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Karen, if people want to get in touch with you to discuss any of the issues that we've talked about in today's podcast, whether it be sexual harassment, whether it be developing leadership skills, whether it be harmony, corporate coaching, personal coaching, there's so much that you do. It's awesome. How can people get in touch with you?
They can email me. And that's the best place, I think, to reach me. It's karen.see@embraceworldwide.asia. We also have a Facebook page at Embrace Worldwide and also on LinkedIn. So you can follow us there. We have a lot of the workshops that we're doing. We share a lot of inspiring things that are happening across the world. And so you can reach us there as well.
Karen, thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been inspirational talking to you. I wish you all the best with all of the things that you're doing. And on behalf of everyone involved in the Me Too campaign, thanks for all your work. It's been really amazing.
Well, thank you, Jules, for coming, for your support. And I wish you luck as well in this journey of podcasting.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Hi, Confidants. I want to tell you about my Patreon page. I've joined Patreon in the hope of getting sponsorship for my Hong Kong Confidential podcast. Patreon is a great way for my listeners to get on board and sponsor me with monthly payments, and that goes towards my production costs and rewards for my members. If you're interested in checking out my Patreon page, please go to patreon.com and search up Jules Hannaford or Hong Kong Confidential. I would really appreciate you visiting my page. So that brings us to the end of another Hong Kong Confidential podcast. I'm Jules Hannaford. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll be with me again next week. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please can you go to iTunes to rate and review it. I would really appreciate your feedback. You can email me at jules@hongkongconfidential.net, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Hong Kong Confidential. If you'd like to hit me up on Twitter, it's at Jules Hannaford. I would love to hear from you.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.